going to be talking about maintaining a relationship in the music business, maintaining a marriage in the music business. Not always easy maintaining a relationship that lasts for a long time. Let me read that comment again, Johnny, because have you ever had a super cool, unpredictable experience in the music world, something you never had thought would happen to you? At present, with networking and stuff like that, trying to connect with people who are doing the things that I want to be doing. For example, I'll use Bart Robley as an example since Bart is here. And Johnny, I think you can see Bart in the comments. And I would include Jim Royal in this circle as well. Last October or November, I can't remember which, somewhere in the fall, I was on the road in Wyoming playing with my country band, Cliff Miller. And I was in my hotel room and I was scrolling through Facebook and I see a video of Bart Robley pop up. Now, prior to that, earlier in the summer, I was on YouTube and I saw this show called Drummer's Education Connection. And I recognized Chip Ritter because Chip Ritter had been on some of the late night shows doing drumming and stick tricks and things like that. And I had seen advertisements with Chip in it before. So Chip Ritter was the one that I immediately recognized. And so because I recognized Chip, I started watching these YouTube videos, Drummer's Education Connection. I watched a handful of them. And because of that, I started seeking out Bart and Chip and Rick and Jeremy on Facebook. And so I don't know if I was Facebook friends yet with Bart or I was at least following him. I didn't know him personally at all. But sometimes, you watch videos of people like that and the way that they talk and the way that they present themselves feels like you start to connect with them. And of course, I would comment and interact a little bit as far as that goes. So back to my story. I was in a hotel room in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I saw a video of Bart pop up because Bart was doing these short videos while he was on tour. He plays in a band called the Sam Morrison Band. And so Bart will typically do a bunch of these short videos when he's on the road with his band, and he'll be showing you, hey, we're on the stage, here's my setup, here's a little tip or trick when you're out on the road. Maybe you want to consider having these tools in your toolbox, in case you have something go wrong or whatever. Well, this particular one, he was talking about teaching drum lessons from the road, and that really caught my interest. So, sorry, Johnny, this is a long-winded story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So that really sparked an interest. Was Bart was teaching his drum lessons from the road, and I being a drum teacher and me frequently out of town playing shows, that really resonated with me because I typically teach Monday through Thursday. That conversation led to, hey, send me a message in Messenger. So then some messages to Bart, and then he was really giving of his time and said, hey, I'm going to be back home on Monday. And I too was going to be back home on Monday. And Bart lives in Southern California. So just through that, I started becoming friends with Bart. When I got on the phone with him, we just hit it off. We just totally hit it off. And then I think it was the next day we did a video, a Zoom meeting on teaching online, because I had tried teaching online before and had not great success with it. It was okay, but Bart was able to help line me out to make the experience a lot better for the students. So I'm up and running as far as that goes. But it was through making friends with Bart and having that relationship, which spread out into being friends with Rick and Chip and Jeremy, all four of those guys, and to being on the Drummers Education Connection podcast. So they had me on as a guest and talked about my story a little bit. And since then, I've been on the show 5 or 6 times. I, again today, will be on Drummers Education Connection. So, Johnny, that's one of those things. It was kind of a slow drift, but it was something that happened, I think, that was really cool, that, was maybe a natural progression or evolution of just connecting with somebody that led to something that was cool and bigger, and like my circle of friends got larger, and it's pretty awesome. And I mentioned Jim Royal, who's in here too. I believe Jim is back east, if I remember correctly. I hope that's the case. On one of the Drummers Education Connection shows, they do this show called All Hands on Deck. So they'll get several guys on the podcast at once. And one of those I was on with Jim Royal. And so now becoming friends with Jim Royal. So it's all connected with this networking thing, and just being willing to ask questions and being able to answer questions, and all of it coming from a genuine place. So that's the first thing that comes to mind, Johnny, is something that's really cool that happens. This Saturday, September 21st, will be my 28th wedding anniversary with the producer, Mrs. Mary Fisher. 28 years that, and people congratulate, people who've been married for a while. What are we doing to celebrate, you might ask? We have no clue. It is homecoming night for our senior in high school, our son Ian, and his girlfriend they're going to go out. Neither one of them drive. So even though it's our wedding anniversary, Mary, may have to chauffeur them around. We're not sure exactly if that's the case or not. Also Saturday, we have 2 groups of friends that are having birthday parties. So we're trying to figure out if we can go to one for a little while and to the next one for a little while. But let's talk about Mrs. Fisher. One of my favorite subjects. All of us musicians out there fell in love with music at some point. I'm assuming we fell in love with music. I certainly fell in love with music. The picture of the coffee mug I shared said, love one woman, love many drums. That's exactly the case in my situation. Is only been in love with Mary, and I've had a lot of drums. I still have a lot of drums. When we got together, we were 24. We were 24 when we got married. I have to do math. Oh man, math at 7:30 in the morning. We were 24 when we got married. So in my early 20s, the first thing I did when I turned 20 is I got hired with a company called Worldwide Showcase based out of Tampa Bay, Florida. And I hit the road, and all I cared about was drumming. All I cared about was music. All I cared about was me. All I cared about was what I'm going to do. Me, 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 me. Sounds very selfish, and maybe to a certain degree it is. But I was 20. I didn't have a girlfriend. I had this desire, this dream to be a rock star, and that's what I wanted to do. So I was doing everything in my power to be able to make that happen. So 20 years old, I auditioned for this company. I got hired, went to Florida. I was gone from home for 7 months, and I played 207 shows in that 7 months. Well, how does that math add up? Well, I worked for a company. We did high school assembly programs. So Anybody who's younger than me probably is totally unaware of this company, but anybody who's my age or probably older may remember this company was around from, I don't know, the late 60s, early 70s, but they put bands together and they did high school assembly programs on stay in school and things like that. And teens that had problems, we could help get teens in touch with counselors and stuff. So there was that purpose behind it. So we would play a school in the morning, we would play a school at night, and then we'd play another school at night. So that was pretty consistent, added up to 207 shows between September and February of the next year. And that was my focus. When that ended, I came home, I was pretty depressed. I was in this routine of doing something. I was on tour, I was traveling, and now I'm suddenly back home at my parents' house in my bedroom, and looking at my drums and convincing myself I need to keep playing, and I need to find something that is professional. So I spent the next couple years putting bands together, trying to get people to have the same drive that I had, and it was really, really difficult to find. And I had already known about the band Midline before I had gone to Florida. And so through a chain of events, the drum seat became open in Midline, and I became the drummer for Midline. And that was a time in Midline's career where we were getting a lot of radio play, especially locally. And they took 4 singles off that first album, which I hadn't played on. The drummer before me, John Conley, had played on that album, but John was out of the band right as that was starting to pick up. So I kind of got to benefit from that time of the band. There were 4 singles off that record that were played in heavy rotation, and that took about 2 years, and thousands and thousands and thousands of CDs were sold. It started off as cassettes, by the way. And so we always joke, like, all the people that bought cassettes went and bought the CD. So we kind of doubled our sales through that process. But at any rate, so you find yourself on the radio, you find yourself being around town and people recognizing you, and I think some of that can go to your head a little bit. I know to a certain degree I had that happen too. So you start thinking, like, all this stuff's about me, right? Well, in the mix of all of that, I was hanging out with this girl. This girl named Mary Reed, who I had become friends with when before I had gone to Florida. I worked at the Cineplex Odeon movie theater at the mall, and so did Mary, and so that's where I met her. I remember when I got hired to go to Florida, Mary was one of the few people that was excited for me. Now, we weren't a thing. We weren't dating. I was an assistant manager, and she was like doing an internship management thing at that time. And I was a little bit mean to her. Just an ongoing sarcasm that I think dug away. However, when I came back home and I was doing stuff around, and I moved in with some roommates. We lived in a house right behind the Boise train depot. So it was great because it was close to downtown. It was a fun time of our life. Mary says a lot mean, yes. And I've apologized to her many, many times about all of that. I started hanging around with Mary a lot because she was hanging around our house and she was friends with all my roommates. And I just really enjoyed her company and her personality. And this is before I knew Mary had any musical ability whatsoever, because I was all focused on me. But I think Mary got excited for me with what was happening with the band and my drumming career, and we eventually started dating. And Mary's one of those people who likes to help other people succeed in what they're doing, which has been overwhelmingly apparent in my career as a musician. It's been very apparent in the raising of our boys and the promotion of her own band. And well, how did all that, a number one thing that I want to say is that I fell in love with her, and I'm still in love with her. And that sounds gushy because it's our 28-year anniversary, but it's true. I still love her. I think that she still loves me. Because early on, we would say we had loved each other, and I would say, "Are you sure?" And she would say, "I'm pretty sure." And we'd laugh, because if you say you're pretty sure, it leaves like this percentage of doubt in the equation too. So we used to kind of laugh about that. At any rate, so Mary bought a video camera, and she started videoing all of Midline shows, and she was really not only in my corner, but in the corner for the band. And there came a time where some drama happened within the band, and I was out of the band for a while. And when that happened, Mary was really encouraging me in my pursuit of music. And it was really, really great, because I knew plenty of my other musician friends who had girlfriends who did not support them at all in this pursuit of what they were doing. And I never understood why that was the case, because I had Mary, and Mary was so positive. So I guess as I tell this story, there were some things that popped in my head. One was a belief in another person's abilities to do something. So Mary had that belief in my ability to do something. And because she loved me, and because of how Mary's personality is, I think she wanted to be involved to whatever degree I would let her be involved. Because that was a time also where having the girls around that wasn't happening. And to a certain degree, that's still the case. I think as musicians, when you're doing things, especially if you're doing a show, there's like a certain headspace that you want to live in when you get ready to play. And there's distractions that can come in depending on how many people are hanging out. And so sometimes having the girlfriends around would be a distraction, because Mary was kind of like this a little bit, not so much anymore, but like she wanted to be included in the party, to whatever that party was. There's not much of a party happening backstage, but to see all the angles. And so we've never taken the girls on the road with us. There's not room. It's expensive to put a few people on the road and travel. Now double that because everybody has a girlfriend. It's just not feasible. It's and to a certain degree you're working, so it's you don't bring extra people on the road. We learned that the hard way, because not only did we there was a couple times we took other people on the road that we shouldn't have, because they thought it was going to be, and it was just like miserable. It was like just everything about it is not good. So having a belief and then supporting that belief. So Mary was very, very supportive in that belief by filming all the shows, and then help promote the band. So Mary wasn't just the girlfriend that was hanging around in the background. She got involved with helping. Eventually led to building websites for the band, helping flyers and things like that. Chip, looking forward to seeing you here in a couple hours. Mary says, I don't like being alone, and the other guys would hang out with her. And the other guys would hang out with their girlfriends' wives out front. Yes, that would happen sometimes. But for me, like I said, there's there's a certain headspace that all of us want to be in when we're getting ready to perform. I know that's the case for me. I don't feel that pressure so much anymore. I think that just comes with getting older, probably. And I've become less about the selfishness part of that, and more about it's just like, well, this is part of the day kind of a deal. So having a belief in somebody and then supporting somebody in that belief, Mary was really, really great in supporting that in any capacity that was possible. And then encouragement in all of that too. So yeah, were there moments where Mary had this belief in this support and this encouragement, and then when it came time for showtime, she probably felt a little bit discarded, and that was not an intent whatsoever. But remember, we fell in love, and I think that's a really important part of that. Being in love and then having that belief and support, encouragement, and being helpful. And then the other thing is the sacrifice. What are we sacrificing as musicians in pursuit of music and doing things? I see Gary Tackett is here. Gary being a very well-seasoned professional guitar player from Nashville and being on big tours and things like that, I'm sure he made a lot of sacrifices in his life to be able to do that. With his kids and his wife and things like that. I know everybody in the band. Well, let's see. I won't include JB or James in this because they're fairly new to the band. But everybody, well, I won't even say that. I probably shouldn't say that. I've seen a lot of marriages end, or a lot of relationships end that couldn't handle the sacrifice part of that. Somehow, Mary and I have survived all of those things. When it was 2001, I think, somewhere around 2001, the band started getting really busy again. We had recorded a new record, and we spent the money to record the most professional record that we could. We wanted it to sound like big production stuff. And we did that. And our intent with doing that was that we could get signed to a record label and they would just stamp that CD. And that's all of that happened. Gary says, yes, sir. It cost several relationships. Lost count. Yeah. So it's hard to weather this being involved with the musician thing. I will say though that when Mary and I first got married, like I said a few minutes ago, I was totally unaware of her musical capabilities or her ability to sing. I was none the wiser. And thanks, Thomas. And Thomas, I'm ready for you to come back when you are. When Mary and I first got married, we lived in an apartment, and one day she was taking a shower, not just occasionally. One of the days when she was taking a shower, she was in there singing, and it sounded so amazing. I went busting in there, and I'm like, where did that come from? Who are you? This was an amazing voice that I heard. And so I encouraged her to get involved with her church choir that her mom sang in. And this choir was this large group of women, and they sang, and they would go on these little tours. I think once a year they went on a tour somewhere. And so Mary got involved with that, and they ended up going over to Europe and sing and things like that. And then Mary's not an idle person, so Mary started learning to play guitar and bass and piano, and she had grown up playing flute. So yeah, this gal can do a lot of stuff. So as time went on, Mary and I were pretty involved with playing music at our church for almost the entire time we've been married, which has been great. But that led to Mary being the singer for the band Casio Dreams around town. And I think, I don't think I'm biased in saying this, but I think Casio Dreams is probably the most popular band in the Treasure Valley right now. They got so much going for them. That isn't to diminish anybody else's band or work, but I mean, the proof is out there when you see pictures of the band playing, and every single time it's a packed house. They really have got a lot going on, and so it's really exciting now to see my wife so involved with the local music scene, as am I. Holy moly, I can't even put all that together. Chris says, is she the lead vocalist? There are two lead vocals. There's a male lead, Adam, and then Mary. So they are an all pop synth tribute band, and so they dress all in 80s clothes, and they only play songs from the 80s, and they're doing all the right stuff at the right time. And so Casio Dreams, Chris, check out Casio Dreams. They have a Facebook page and a website and all of that stuff. So do Mary and I get on each other's nerves? Yes. I probably get on her nerves more than she gets on mine, especially right now. I am like a full-grown infant that she's having to take care of. No, she doesn't have to change my diapers, but she has had to take care of me in just about every aspect, and I'm very thankful for that. So I know that Mary's busy doing what she normally does anyway, taking care of the boys and household things and running people here and there, and then to constantly have me need something, I think might be wearing her out to a certain degree. And I don't mean for that to be the case. It's just, I've probably fidgeted 40 times off and off this stool here with my leg. So yeah, the number one thing is remembering that we're in love with each other. 28 years this Saturday. As my music career has drifted and moved and had all these different things, like Johnny had asked earlier in the show, like anything cool that was unexpected, like nothing pops into my mind immediately, but I think it's just an evolution or a natural progression of how things have gone. And of course, seeking help, getting mentoring from people has been really helpful as well. And just like, you need to do this. I trust you, and I'm going to do what you're telling me to do. And now I'm a full-time musician and have been for 3 years, a little over 3 years now, which at some point in my life I thought was never going to happen. And it did, but it's a lot through Mary's belief, support, encouragement, being helpful, and sacrificing a lot to make that a reality. In the mix of all of that stuff and teaching drum lessons full time and building this room and then building it into a recording studio, and then who's the engineer? Who's the person who figured out how to do that? She is. Mary's the one. That's why I call her the producer. She just finished up a whole album for some people that wrapped up yesterday, which is amazing. Which was for Idaho Fine Arts Academy. We had 34 different kids, high school kids, come over here and record music, and they did a full album. And the final mixes are all done as of yesterday. It's pretty awesome. So now Mary and I both have full-time music careers, and it's freaking awesome. And our kids are involved with music. So a lot of good stuff here at the Fisher House. Making a relationship last in the music business is not easy. I think people have trouble making relationships last in general. You know, somebody or a couple that have regular, 9-to-5 type jobs and trying to raise kids and pay a mortgage and all of that stuff. For whatever reason, there's our culture and the climate that we have is pretty accepting of relationships that fall apart. And, some of them fall apart for legitimate reasons. I'm not discrediting any of those things, but our marriage has been tested many, many times and has survived. And it's remembering that we love each other. I think our belief system plays a large role in that as well. And what else can I say? What else can I say about that? I see my buddy Jim McCrossey's here. Jim is another musician friend who has a marriage that has lasted a very long time. Jim, I think you might be at like 29 or 30 years. It's got to be close to that. I know you got married before me and Mary did. Anyway, I think that's about all I can say other than happy anniversary to Mrs. Fisher, 28 years. That'll be this Saturday. And I'm hoping that maybe this winter, when I can actually walk again, we'll have a romantic night out on the town. I'm hoping that we could do that. Like this Saturday, if Mary and I go out, she's going to be taking care of a guy in a wheelchair or a walker trying to get around anywhere. Is going to be a challenge. So we'll see what we can do. We'll see what we can do. Thanks everybody for hanging out. If anybody has suggestions on what I should talk about, things that you want to know, please put them in the comments, or you can message me. That would be fantastic. If you're joining in here late, there's always the replay that you can catch. And again, thank you everybody for your support and your well wishes and prayers and everything for this broken leg situation. Slowly improving. It's just, I'm at that point now where everything's just uncomfortable all the time. Like there is not a lot of pain involved with it. It's just uncomfortable. And you don't realize how heavy your leg is until you can't move it on its own. You have to like physically lift it up and move it around. It's just weird. It's weird and it's hard and it's exhausting, but we're making it work. We're making it work. You guys have an awesome day. Again, coming up, let's see, 9, 10, 11, in 4 hours, I will be on the Drummers Education Connection podcast, and we'll be talking about all of this stuff. So Drummers Education Connection, pretty easy to search that out here on Facebook or YouTube. Mark says, I'm happy for you too, and I'm glad that you are improving, Fred. Thank you, Mark. Debbie, happy anniversary, Fishers. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to press finish. We'll see you guys later.